to Toronto, Canada for the Toronto Plus Size Fashion Show. You know, we first had to travel to Atlanta because we flew out of Atlanta and took a straight shot from Atlanta to Toronto. What was so exciting about the trip was that this is Brooklyn's first international trip. So I was super excited about that. Seeing her, she had to sign her passport at the front counter, and they were asking her questions as a young lady, asking her where she was going, what she's doing. And so the travel was really easy, real comfortable, real easy. Once we touched down in Toronto, was a two-hour trip, 2-hour flight. Yeah, and then once we got down to Toronto, we landed in Toronto. We went through customs. Again, an amazing experience to watch my daughter actually get her first little stamp on her passport and to be so excited about going to Canada. And everything was great. The Airbnb was great. And that was kind of like day 0, day 1, because we touched down like around midnight, and then we got to customs, and by the time we got through all of that and got to our Airbnb, we had a fiasco actually. So my aunt joined us, but she didn't fly on the same carrier as we did. She flew Air Canada. So once we touched down into Toronto and we went through customs, what I told her is that I'll meet you on the other side of customs, right? So we're thinking from a position of how Atlanta Hartsfield is, very streamlined. You come in on this terminal, your international terminal, and so forth and so on. Well, Toronto is not like that. So once we got to the other side and got into out through customs and got to the other side, and we actually were in Toronto, outside the airport, we had our Turo person. They met us there with the car, real nice, everything was real nice and real smooth. So we're thinking, okay, Evelyn, where are you? So I'm thinking she's gonna come out the same door I'm gonna come out of. And it took us she was in a whole nother terminal. Nowhere near where we were. So we had to kind of find her, and because I'm not familiar with Toronto and she's not familiar with Toronto, this is both our first time, I said, well, go upstairs. And then I would tell her to go upstairs. Well, go downstairs. And she'd go downstairs. And we're looking for each other. It just got to a point, I think we did that for about, an hour, Richard? About 2 hours looking for her. Then it was like, I just got to get out the car and just go through the airport and see where I can find her. And we finally found her. And then we got to the Airbnb and everything was settled then.
North Queen Street.
Hey, this is Kimberly Beasley and Richard Beasley and Brooklyn Beasley, and we are in Toronto. This is day 1 of our trip to Toronto, and the first thing we had to do was come out and get, what is it called, Richard?
SD card.
Oh, we came all the way up here with all our funky fly fresh equipment.
with no storage.
No storage at all. So we had to take a little quick stop and go and get some storage. So now we're on our way to, which one are we going to? Graffiti Alley?
Yep.
We're going to Graffiti Alley first, but this is Toronto here. I don't see everybody's like, oh, what does it look like? It's just like a regular place in the States to me. I do notice that the food tastes different though. It tastes very different. Tastes a little more fresh, I guess. I can, even in there, like I had some cheese puffs that how we have, like the real orangey, dusty cheese puffs, and these were the same brand. So, but their taste totally different up here. They don't have a lot of that orange dust on it either. Just like a nice simple cheese ball. And it tastes different. I don't know. But anyway, we're headed over to Graffiti Alley to check that out. Now they have one in Baltimore, and we haven't been to the one in Baltimore. That's pretty nice too. And if you catch on the right time, you'll catch somebody DJ out there house music, so that makes it just that much extra. But yeah, so we're headed to Graffiti Alley here in Toronto. Then we're gonna see what Chinatown has to offer. And then there's so many other things to do. Kensington Market. Then you have the they have a nice mall here. They got a nice mall here.
Sherwood Gardens.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, pretty cool. So yeah, we're just gonna do that. And then we are in a nice little Tesla, Richard.
I'm assuming that Joey Sherways, one of the
that
owners, and he has his own damn restaurant. Ain't that crazy?
I don't know. I have no idea who Joey Sherway
come eat with Joey.
But we have a Tesla. We went in a Tesla. First time hitting a Tesla. How do you like it so far?
It's fast. So
It's comfortable.
yeah, it's comfortable. The controls are kind of like the Mercedes, other than over convoluted, charter shit. But yeah, why can't you just control your mirrors? You gotta talk to this thing so you can change the mirrors. Some stuff
Well, it
is
has
just
a big, like a
unnecessary.
tablet, big old tablet here that controls the car, I guess, and even shows you all type of crazy stuff. But anyway, we are headed on to Graffiti Alley, and we will hit you guys back once we get the Graffiti Alley, yes. I mean, that's super cool. And most time when you're in graffiti, I think that's me looking his name up, as a matter of fact. His name is Ryan Yvonne. And we were in Graffiti Alley, just checking in the sites. They have a Graffiti Alley in Baltimore, so we were familiar with what it looks like. We just wanted to see the one in Toronto, see if it was similar. And so we were looking at everything, and I was taking pictures of Brooklyn and Richard, and yeah, that's his name. And so a gentleman came up. It was just us, me and Richard and Brooklyn, and he came up and asked did I want to get in the picture, and I was kind of reluctant. And the reason why I was so reluctant is because, listen, I don't got time to chase you down if you try to run off. Once New Jersey, always New Jersey. And so I was like, I don't know. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just a renowned, he said, I'm just a world-renowned photographer, no big deal. And I was like, okay, well, if you got it like that, come on and take this picture. Let's see what you got. Yeah. He really took a good picture. And then he gave us his name afterwards. And I looked him up immediately to see if I looked him up immediately. And it was the truth. He was the truth. Yeah. That was pretty fun. That was really interesting experience, but yeah. And I like their graffiti. It's real cool. They got some stuff that's intricate, but then they got one they got Biggie Smalls totally wrong. Totally wrong. You know what I'm talking about, Rich? The one that got Biggie Smalls totally wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was very wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. It was wrong. He looked like he was on Ozempic. Like he just didn't look. It was just not. But they tried. I think it should be in there somewhere. But they tried. It just wasn't. It just was a no. The first thing we had to do was the day before the show on the 6th, we had to go to do our fitting. So that was my first time actually meeting the models and actually fitting them in what they were going to be wearing for the show. We only had a 3-hour block for that. And then the day of the show at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were at the library, and that's where the show was. And we had to go for rehearsal. We had to make sure that the graphics were straight that I sent, and the music that I sent was straight as well. So they did a full run through, minus the clothes, but a full run through a couple of times because a couple of things I wasn't happy with, but we got it straight. And so that's why you had to come to the rehearsal to make sure everything is straight for that night. All the designers had to come. We did 2 or 3 runs to make sure, because there was a certain way that I needed them to walk, and I was very adamant about that. But other than that, it was a great group of girls, happy and excited to be there. Malia Indigo is the owner of the Toronto Plus Size Fashion Show in Toronto, and it was a great show. She had a lot of designers such as Warath Avenue, Thunder Thighs, Hillary McMillan, The Overlooked. There was a company called The Overlooked, which I thought was really amazing. They take vintage clothes and then they kind of freak it, which I thought was super cool. So all I did is pay my entry fee. They had the models, the location, the press, and everything else set up. We just had to show up with our items, and then we were good to go. So those ladies that were sitting over there for the side, they were not selected. You got to select who you wanted, right? So I got to select according to how many models you wanted, and I selected 12. And so from that, early on, the production team had sent via email, they had sent pictures and measurements, and from that I got to select early, before I even got to Toronto. I got to select the girls that I felt would represent my brand the best, and then they got to walk for me. But these women walked for several designers in a night. Someone walked for all of them, and some may walk for 2 or 3, some may walk for 1. It just depends. But those were the ladies that I selected. For part 2 of the Thick Thighs Matter vlog finale, Toronto Plus Size Fashion Show held in Toronto, Canada. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, remember, thick thighs matter. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.